friends. Welcome back. No, we don't plan it, but I had the good pleasure to interview Debbie Yonan with St. Thomas Aquinas Academy. I wanted to give her a good heads up, not heads up, but uh, let her know what had become of all those many years of working with me and Felicia and the twins. And, tears were shed in gratitude to the Lord and all of that. And so I said to Debbie, and tell me if this isn't exactly what you heard as we closed out in the last episode here. Well, what would you say to those families who've been unexpectedly thrown into a homeschooling decision? Where do they start? She's been doing this 25 years. See if this isn't the same. She says there are two categories of homeschool subjects: core independent learning skills and content-based courses. The core independent learning skills are an everyday, those are your fundamentals. You do that. Those are your first. Penmanship for the rest of your life. Formal reading instruction through 5th grade level. Formal math instruction, which is reasoning with math, which is different than learning your math facts. That would be more into content. Set instruction. Phonics spelling, math facts 3 times, 7 minutes a day. Formal grammar, formal composition training. And what Sarah said about copying good written work, 5th, 6th grade, absolutely right. That is what is built on. Those fundamental approaches to reading, getting that whole, the broad view of it. Then we can go into the religion curriculum or your history curriculum, literature or your fine arts. But if you have a core independent learning skills in place, then the child will be self-directed to these other topics.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, children learn to learn. I mean, you can either feed your child or you can let him feed himself. Right? I mean, I don't think that there is a really great difference, and this is my opinion, obviously, but I don't think that there's a really great difference between my stocking my pantry with good, nourishing foods for my children than there is with my stacking my library shelves with good, nourishing literature and books for them to learn from. Because God, I mean, one of the things that we learned from that Baltimore Catechism that you quoted before, the very first question, why did God make me? Right? He made me to know him, love him, and serve him in this life so that I can be happy with him in the next. What a simple answer, but what a jam-packed answer, right? So if God made us to know him, then we are capable of knowing. Right. And so he made us to be able to appreciate the things that are necessary to know him. And so we are created to learn specifically. And so when you the truth is that, and I would use Ben Carson, as a perfect example of this. Ben Carson had a mother who had no more than a 3rd grade education, and she basically knew nothing. She would admit that herself. She couldn't read, she couldn't write, but she had heard that she knew about the Bible and she knew about Shakespeare. And so she would make her sons read from the Bible and read from Shakespeare, and then she would have them write an essay about those things. And then she couldn't even read them, but she would just give them back to them and say, okay, I think you can do better next time. And so they were, they had no awareness of the deficit of their mother's education. To them, she knew everything that she needed to do. That she needed to educate them. And it was only in hindsight, after they were educated, after they had learned to love knowledge and to learn to love wisdom and to be willing to seek that out for themselves, did they recognize how little she, quote unquote, knew in terms of access to information, but how incredibly wise she was. And I think that most she should almost be the role model of every homeschooling mother who's afraid to teach their children. I mean, Ben Carson was the first African American brain surgeon, and he was lauded for separating two Siamese children who were attached at the head. I mean, so here's a man who, his mother basically was their home educator, right, for all intents and purposes. Even though they did go to school, she certainly supplemented it. And yes, we have to make sure that we're weaving together those connective tissues, that we're making sure that the bone and the muscle are that the sinews that combine those two are very, very strong. Because the whole point is not to have a muscle or to have a bone. The whole point is to have a limb that functions. And that's what we're trying to do with the kids, is to make sure that they both have good nourishing food to eat so their body grows, and good, healthy, holy information so that their wisdom can grow.
That's right. I asked her, how about the parents? So the parents are worrying. So you have given them, really, Ben Carson's mother, absolutely incredible. And she could not have told her children to study from anything greater, because the King James Bible is what formed the English language, like the Lutheran Bible formed the Lutheran language, and Shakespeare, the pinnacle of
English language.
It's right. That's right. I asked her, what about those parents who are scared that they will ruin their children's education if there needs to be an overhaul midway through, right? The hitting the wall. Oh my gosh, everyone. She says, no, it really takes 2 years to ruin your kids' education.
Yeah, it's at least 2 years, yeah.
You can't really do it in one. She said it takes a year just to quit yelling at the kids, so don't worry about it. Right. And see, there's the humor. It was wonderful talking to her. They don't advertise.
A lot of people to Debbie Onan.
She's great.
I think she's astounding. I've never met her personally, obviously, but I mean, she's definitely a kindred spirit.
She is. I don't know what she looks like.
Nope.
And it had probably been about 4 or 5 years since,
right.
8 plus the high school, so that'd be 5. That I last spoke, and they brought back. Oh my gosh, what a resource! What a resource. She said that you will be, and this is another thing, you will be, the homeschool parent is stunned how much they cover in such a short period of time. Generally, you will regroup 2 years of missed work within a year. And for Felicia, just because of the circumstances with her, with myself, and that sort of thing, we only need to spend about 25%. So when Sarah was saying, like, the state thinks you need to be spending, I don't know, 50 minutes on math, heck to the no-no, as some would say. No, we didn't need to do that. Because we could. And one of the best parts is that and again, I'm not judging the teacher. The teacher has a different agenda than me. Right. She just does. Yep. I'm sitting there with Felicia, and when Felicia gets it, well, we move on. Or when the twins get it, we move on. Right. They don't get it, well, we stay. They're still not getting it. Oh, okay, well, let's come up with some new strategies. Maybe we need, like Sarah said, I can step away from it, perhaps. Yeah. Wait for a developmental. Maybe there's a developmental increase. Maybe I need to do the singing of songs like I did with geology.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
And
yeah, the methodology changes to fit the child. You don't change the child to fit the methodology. And it's really about recognizing first principles. The highest value is not the education. The highest value is the child. So like what you were saying, like the way that you would describe the schools that you would send your kids to, you would say that they were heretical but academically excellent. And I laugh at that, and I think no, they weren't.
I know
because
it's
because you absolutely put the
I'll be the first to admit it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but in terms of the world, they were able to quote unquote produce people who are going to go to schools that are considered that are still living on the laurels of the original people who went through them, who
Yeah.
may well have been very good, very moral, very sound people, right? But fundamentally, those schools have missed the vision that they were inspired to teach, because they have seen that the outcome is more important than the input. And we know that that's a logical fallacy. What you put in is far more important than what comes out. Because you can't make something good come out when you put something bad in. No computer programmer, anyone worth his salt, knows that input matters. And listen, I am not a computer programmer, right, by any stretch of imagination. Greg, my husband, has a joke and says that he would like to write a book about things that I don't have an opinion on, but he has not found a topic yet, right? But trust me, computer programming, RAM, whatever, upload, download, no meaning to me, don't care, right? But I do know that garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
That's so right. I think that with these schools, we have to get back to first principles. Foundations matter. You don't build a roof before you've got walls, and you don't pray a rosary with a pile of beads.
That's right.
Certain things need to be done before other things can be done. And the most fundamental, important piece of this educational pie is the child. And in these times right now that are fraught with political challenges, the innocent is always the one who will suffer, always. And so right now you have children who are being used as a political football. And this is also one of the primary reasons why, even if you're hesitating to homeschool, you have to put the needs of your child before any of the other wants that you may perceive as a good. Yes, we would all love our children to become wildly successful and make $1 million. Right, that's great. But if they do that at the loss of their soul, then they've gained the world and lost their salvation. So, we really have to be making sure that the priority in all of this, as a mother, and that's not to say that there are not bad mothers. Of course, there are bad mothers. But the vast majority of mothers are going to have a heart for their child, and they're going to be motivated by the authentic good of that child. And at this point, when we know that the world that is exterior to our homes and to our families has other agendas, it really is very important that we protect our children from any possible harm that can come to them. And I'm sorry, there is no way that any parent can do any worse than could befall a child who sat down in front of a computer screen for 8 hours a day, allegedly doing work online. Just a conversation. A 2-hour conversation with your child every day and a trip to the park will do far more for your child's mental and spiritual growth than any type of alleged expert online giving your child a lesson through the computer.
That's right. That's right. Well, friends, to the next time, be nice and Ratio.